Okay, so we're gonna go into now Deuteronomy chapter chapter 22, and we're gonna talk about what marriage is, as far as according to the law. All right, this is Deuteronomy 22, and let's see, we'll start at 13. 22 and 13. If a man take a wife and go in unto her, and hate her, and give occasions of speech against her, and bring up an evil name upon her, and say, I took this woman, and when I came to her, I found her not a maid, a virgin. Then shall the father of the damsel and her mother take and bring forth the tokens of the damsel's virginity, and the elders unto they then shall the father, this is verse 15, of the damsel and her mother take and bring forth the tokens of the damsel's virginity unto the elders of the city in the gate. And the damsel's father shall say unto the elders, I gave my daughter unto this man to wife, and he hated her. And lo, he hath given occasions of speech against her, saying, I found not thy daughter a maid. And yet these are the tokens of my daughter's virginity. And they shall spread the cloth before the elders of the city. This is verse 18. And the elders of that city shall take that man and chastise him. And they shall immerse him in 100 shekels of silver, and give them unto the father of the damsel, because he had brought up an evil name upon a virgin of Israel. And here's the key point. And she shall be his wife, and he may not put her away all his days. So the reason that I went here and read this through is because when you this is what would most a lot of cultures would do this, but we know that when a man takes a woman and she's a virgin and they lie with her, there's the tearing of the hymen, or and she bleeds. And so they would put a cloth. Traditionally, they would take the bed sheets in the marriage chamber, and that was given to the woman's parents, because this is letting everyone know, yes, my daughter had not been touched. This was a virgin. She was a virgin. And so, as you see here, the spirit of this man. The spirit of this man is he doesn't want to be responsible because they know that they can't just put them away for any reason. You can't be, we'll go into that, but you can't put a woman away once you've laid with her. Just like we talked about in part 2. When you lie with someone, this is the whole point. When you lie with someone, that scripturally, in the eyes of the Most High, is what actually consummates the marriage. Because you know that when you lie with someone, that act of sex is when you physically become one. That's when you physically become one in the flesh. So that is what consummates a marriage. Now you have ceremonies, you can do paperwork, you are to go to, and we'll get this in the next few verses. You are to go to the woman's father. And a lot of times marriages were arranged as well. So that's what it means to be betrothed. Or you would call it, to this day, you would say engaged if you're engaged to someone, but not necessarily like an arranged um, marriage. But you are, when it's arranged, that girl, that woman, that damsel, that virgin, she's betrothed to someone. So she's already been promised to someone. That's why they call it a promise ring, like your engagement ring. That because you're promising to be with this person. So we're gonna go read further, um, verse 20. But if this thing be true, and the tokens of virginity be not found for the damsel, then they shall bring out the damsel to the door of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her with stones that she die, because she have wrought folly in Israel to play the whore in her father's house. So shalt thou put evil away from among you. Um, so as you can see here, But once again, just like we talked about in part two, playing the whore. And, some of the conditions we were talking about of our people in this day here in captivity because of the lawlessness of the society that we're in. The disregard for what marriage why we're bringing this part out, for what marriage in the eyes of the Most High is, and what the laws pertaining to it, and dealing with adultery is. All right, let's keep going. Verse 22 is what I really want to get to. If a man be found lying with a woman married to an husband, then they shall both of them die, both the man that lay with the woman and the woman. So shalt thou put away evil from Israel. And this is important when you're talking about, once again, what adultery is. This is telling you clearly in the law, this is what is adultery in the eyes of the Most High. Let's read it again. If a man be found lying with a woman married to an husband, then they shall both of them die. Both the man that lay with the woman and the woman and the woman. So shalt thou put evil away from Israel. Put away evil from Israel. Okay, now we're going to go to verse 23. This is Deuteronomy 22 and 23, because this is pretty much in the situation what we're talking about. This is very important to understand, and this is one of the key points that I think will, if this were brought out and if this was taught, a lot of people would kind of think twice before they're just sleeping around. This is Deuteronomy 22 and 23. If a damsel that is a virgin be betrothed unto a husband, and a man find her in the city and lie with her, then ye shall bring them both out unto the gate of that city, and ye shall stone them with stones, that they die. The damsel, because she cried not, being in the city, and the man, because he hath humbled his neighbor's wife. So shalt thou put away evil from among you. And that's actually, I'm sorry, but it is a key point. It's very key. All of the scripture is key, but we're going to read further into the key point. I think is around verse 28 that I wanted to get to. But this is also very important, because you see here how people will just kind of carnally lay with each other. And so this is talking when people think about, yes, actually this is very key. You know how you think that marriage is a piece of paper, getting a license, going to a so-called minister or church or whatever, what have you, and having this ceremony. So you think that you're not married until you do that. And a lot of times people will have girlfriends. This is the point that I'm making about this. They'll have girlfriends and boyfriends, or maybe they're just talking. What you kind of call it in the world, where you don't even give yourself the title of boyfriend, girlfriend yet, but you're just talking, but you're really, really dealing with this person. You're really, really talking to this person. And so you feel as though it's okay to sleep around because you don't have these titles. It's the same thing with the marriage ceremony. People will, especially a lot of men, they'll sleep around, and deal with other women and things because they think they're not married yet. And when you're doing that, a lot of times, even, or say the woman has a boyfriend, has a man, as you would say, and you're dealing with them, but you're like, oh, they not married, so I'm not really wrong. And this is really the mindset of people. Like, they really think that. So what this is telling you, though, very important to consider, what this is telling you is that even if you lie with a person that is betrothed, is promised, is because let's be realistic, even if you don't want to put it that way, but when you're, especially for a woman now, the way that we're, I guess the culture of this society, the mindset of the society, usually not so much for men, but for women, when you have a boyfriend or a man, you're dealing with this person, your intent is always to end up with them forever. Like, most women are not looking, but it depends, but usually most women are not looking to be with somebody for a long time, just to break up, or you know, not with the intent to be with them forever. And that goes into if you're dealing with the person for a month or 10 years. Usually, when you get with someone, you're getting with them, you like them, you want to build. You're not looking to break up, but that end up happening, and it ends up happening because of so many issues and things that go on in this society. Once again, what we talked about in part 2 in 2 Timothy, the 3rd chapter, because of the selfishness and the lawlessness and the incontinence of people, you just can't, or the abuse, you just can't stay with people the way that they are in this time. But this verse 22 here is very important, because even if you think that just because they don't have this ring, which is also a tradition of men, and just because they don't have this piece of paper from, the institutional law or whatever, from which the state that they live, the license, the certificate, you think that because they don't have that, that you're able to just freely deal with a person. But when you read scripturally, that isn't the case. And so it says here, if a man um, be no 23, if a damsel that is a virgin be betrothed to a husband, so that means you're promised to someone, and a man find her in the city and lie with her, then it is in verse 24, it says according to the law that they shall die. Now this is when Israel was in their land, and this is the laws that's given to them. Well, these are the laws that are being given to them for when they're in their land. So here, when we're talking, we can't do those things, but the Most High is the judge. And like I said, we're talking about issues and conditions of our people. And this goes back into Hosea, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. When you don't know this, and you don't understand, once again, when we talked about in Isaiah, you don't consider the judgments that are being brought on you. Our people don't consider why things are so messed up. And once again, Hosea, so very key. They're destroyed for the lack of knowledge because they don't know. They don't know that we are the people of the book, and our God requires things of us. He requires us to conduct ourselves a certain way. And this is telling you right here that whether you think you have a boyfriend and you don't have that piece of paper or that ring, that you can just deal around. No, not so in the eyes of the Most High. That's not the case. So he is going to judge. He's going to judge. And that's what we're talking about here. The conditions of a people, we don't consider that these are judgments from our God. Why we're in the conditions, why you have so many failed relationships. And failed relationships brings about much, much spiritual sorrow, especially for women. And when you consider the importance of that, the women are the people that are bearing the children and that are rearing and bringing up the children. And when you're a mentally, spiritually damaged person, you pass that on to the children if you don't know any better. And then that continues on and on and on. And so then you have people continuing this cycle of spiritual damage. So, that is very, very important to understand. So is the scriptures telling you that even if someone is betrothed to someone, whether they're engaged, whether they have that piece of paper and that ring or not yet, if they have a boyfriend, whatever you want to call it, a man, whatever you want to call it, they are promised to someone else. Therefore, you should not be dealing with them. And then you got some people that just don't even care. And we talking about straight out adultery, where though they know they got their ring and their quote unquote their piece of paper, and they know, all right, and they're still dealing around as if that's not the case. So that is one of the reasons why our people are being judged, and why we're in the conditions that we're in. And so let's go to verse 25. But if a man find a betrothed damsel in the field, and the man force her and lie with her, then the man only that lay with her shall die. So it is telling you there, if this woman gets raped, and and this is another thing of what it goes into in verse 24. about if the woman cries not and she's in the city. Because if you're in the city, that means there's a lot of people around. There's a lot around, and you can cry out and someone will assist you. But if you don't do that, you're complicit with the behavior that's going on, and you know that you could have. And I don't like to point or say, but this is what this is telling you. So if someone's in the field, it means you're way out somewhere. There's really not anyone around to help you, um, and they're forced, and someone violates them like this, then the man is going to die. It says the man shall die. It says, but if a man find a betrothed damsel in the field, so once again, this is someone that's promised to someone, um, whether they have a boyfriend or they're engaged, however you want to call it, or they have an arrangement between the parents, and they're in the field and there's no one around to help, and someone force her, she won't die, but the man. But you see, when we read in 24, it says that it is a different case. They're in the city, so we know what that means. Because in the city, when you could have cried out, or basically, or that if she's complicit and she knows, then the two shall die. But if the woman is forced, is making it clear here, if she's not complicit with what happened and there was no one around to help her, then she's not going to be responsible because she's betrothed, but the man only. And it says that he shall die. So the Most High is very clear on how he feels about adultery, or about how when you're dealing with someone that's promised to someone else. He doesn't like it. It displeases him to this point. You see clearly how he feels about this. All right. Verse 26. But unto the damsel thou shalt do nothing. There is in the damsel no sin worthy of death. For as when a man riseth against his neighbor and slayeth him, even so is this matter. So if someone comes up against you and you're unaware, it's the same thing in this case. This woman was unaware; she wasn't complicit with it. And there was none to help her, because this person rose up against her and violated her, and she was. Or it's speaking of if your neighbor rises up against you, you would be caught off guard because you wouldn't be expecting for your neighbor to rise up against you. This is your neighbor. They're supposed to love you. So you wouldn't expect that. You would be caught off guard. So that's why it's comparing it to as your neighbor rising against you, because you're caught off guard. You're not expecting that to happen. That she's promised to someone else. All right. So now verse 28. This is the part where we're talking about someone who's not doesn't have a man. They're not betrothed. They're not promised to someone else. But they just start dealing with someone, which happens often, which happens a lot, especially in this society. If a man, let's read the scripture, let the scripture speak. Verse 28. If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her, and lie with her, and they be found, then the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he have humbled her. He may not put her away all his days. So this once again is very important as far as what we're talking about. When you are dealing with someone, you're dating, whatever you want to call it in this society, when you're doing that and you deal with this person, if you take it to that level, this is before you make arrangements, it's not arranged, you haven't asked this woman's father to be with her forever, you just get with someone, and we're going to we're going to get a scripture to kind of um uh, scripture precept upon precept. Therefore, I hate every false way. That's Psalms 119. And also in Isaiah, I believe it's chapter 29. You need precepts to expound on scriptures that you're reading so that you don't misinterpret. So therefore it won't be false. It's not not being misled. Okay, by what the scripture is saying. So why I say that is because verse 28, If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her, and lie with her, and they be found. Okay, so let's go get a precept to that. Okay, this is Deuteronomy 22. No, sorry, it's Exodus. This is Exodus 22 and 16. If a man entice a maid that is not betrothed and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife. Like we talked about a dowry. All right. He and so let's go and get an definition of entice. Okay. And this is key to what we're talking about. Entice, to lead on by exciting hope or desire, to allure or inveigle. Okay, and so we know what that means. That means to, well, and let's get the definition of some of these other things. To allure or inveigle. Let's get those. Allure, to attract or tempt by something flattering or desirable, to fascinate, charm. Okay. Inveigle, to entice, lure, or ensnare by flattery or artful talk or inducements, to acquire, win, or obtain by beguiling talk or methods. Okay, so when we read, like, and so this is something that is so very important, and that's why I said what happens a lot in this time, especially with our people. And I think that this will really, 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 um, this is like very important, and because when you consider these definitions, let's go back to Exodus 22 and 16. And if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife. So what happens when you going out and, or like, once again, let's go back to Deuteronomy so that these scriptures can bring each other out. If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her. So this lay hold on her, we're talking about, and to entice her, also to lure her, to woo her, he sees her and he wants her, and he, does things to lure her in. Let's go out to dinner, let me buy you this, let me take you out. You're spending time with this person, you're dating, basically, in other words, as you would call it in this society. You're dealing with this person. And it says, so let's go to 28, Deuteronomy 22 and 28. If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her, and lie with her, and they be found. So the point would that be found? Okay, so now people know you're together. You are with this person. People, they see this. And this is before he's gone to, but the key point here is the lie with that person. That's the key point here. If he lie with her, then the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife. Let's get that again. Then the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he have humbled her. And let's get the most important thing here. He may not put her away all his days. So let's go back to when we read in verse 15 of Deuteronomy 22. Remember when we read that this man has this damsel, and this is his wife now, and he says, no, actually, sorry, it was verse 13 and 14. The man, he's taken this woman to be his wife, meaning he has now laid with her, and he's saying she wasn't a maid. Okay, so, and the parents have the tokens of virginity proven. You're lying. All right, she was a maid. She was a virgin. You're just trying to get out of out of this marriage for whatever reason it is, and in which we find a lot in Israel. And this ties into verse 28 through 30. I'm sorry, verse 28 through 29, because you can't put them away. So this man, knowing this here in verse 13 or 14, knows this. So what he's doing is he's trying to have a reason to get out of this. So the point that I'm saying is that this happens a lot to this day. Our men will woo a woman, they'll get with this sister, and they lay with her, and then they don't want to be with her anymore because they didn't got what they want. But this society, the laws of the scripture are not applied. So it's okay. I mean, because kind of here, anything goes in this culture. It's okay to sleep around. And it is. I mean, maybe not if you're individually taught different morals in your home. But if you're not, it's pretty much promoted to be okay to sleep around. If you watch TV enough, which is another programming box, like I always say, the programming box, that's what you get from it. That's the idea that you get, that before you have this quote unquote ring and certificate of marriage from whatever location you're in, then you're free to do that. That is what is promoted. That's the idea that's promoted in this culture. And so you don't understand that in the eyes of, especially with our people now, we're talking about, once again, going into Hosea and Isaiah, our people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because number one, if you don't understand who you are and you're doing these things and why you're being judged, why things are so messed up in our community, this is the key. This is why I'm bringing this out, because we don't understand that these things apply to us, and you cannot do that. You can't just entice a woman, deal with this woman all this time, woo her, and then lay with her, and then decide that you're just going to go off. No, it doesn't work that way. And I think that if our people understood this, then you would have a lot of things, a lot of situations like baby mamas and baby daddies, that wouldn't be the case, because you will understand that before you lie with this person, you can't put them away. In the eyes of the Lord, in the eyes of scripture, in the eyes of the Most High, the scriptures tell you that that is what consummates a marriage. Now, yes, you have ceremonies, and yes, you do things like this for this purpose. That's why I said this is a transaction. And just like with any transaction, you need a receipt for the proof of purchase, okay, in case a situation like verse 15 arises and you want to take it back. Then, you have your receipt. And that is what the tokens of virginity was. That was a receipt for the transaction of their daughter to this man. My daughter was a maid, okay? Yes, she was a virgin, and you can't put her away. Then by the laws of our word, that man was to be chastised if this woman was actually a virgin. You can't put her away. Don't be trying to lie to get out of being responsible. And you cannot put her away all your days. That's the key that I want to make here. Because people don't understand that in the eyes of God, for the Israelites, when you lay with someone, that is what constitutes you becoming one. That is what constitutes a marriage. And if you do that before you go to that person's father and ask for her, if you do that before you take that step, then you have to then go to that woman's father and give him the dowry for his daughter. Take her, she's yours. You can't put her away. But it's an important thing to do things the way they should, because then you would have arrangements, you would have a ceremony, you would have the tokens of virginity to show, all right, that proof, in case the man try to do this and run off and don't want to be bothered because now he done got what he wanted, the goodies. So, but let's go back to Exodus 22. Okay, Exodus 22, and we'll go back to 16 again. And if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife. If her father utterly refuse to give her unto him, he shall pay money according to the dowry of virgins. Okay, so this is very key right here, because that's why it's important to go to do things properly, because the father can say, no, I don't think you're right for my daughter. I don't want you to have her. No. And he utterly refused to give his daughter to the man. Then now she's not only has she been humbled, she's not a virgin anymore, but the man still lawfully would have to pay for what he's done. And so that's why he would have to pay the dowry of virgins, because now she's kind of defiled and probably may not get another husband, because it would desire to have a virgin, but now she's not anymore, so that has to be compensated for. That has to be compensated for. Um, so that is why it is key to understand who you are, how to do things, how to handle things, so that any kind of situation like this wouldn't arise. And that it goes also once again back to us with our society. A lot of times the men just aren't even in the homes anymore. And we went into the curses as to why that was in Deuteronomy 28. We also, those part of those curses, how they play out, goes into the times that we're in Timothy. Selfish people, incontinent. This is what the spirit of this place where we are in this captivity, this is what you're dealing with. So that is another reason why everything is out of order. And what I want to do, I want to go to Psalms, because this is very important to understand that. And also Hosea, chapter 4, because there's no knowledge of the Most High, all of these problems have arisen. All of these problems with our people is because there's no knowledge of God. If you don't know these things that we just read, if you think that you can just sleep around and with and like I said, without what this society tells you is what marriage is, then if you think that, you don't understand why we as a people are being judged. Let's go to Psalms. Okay, this is Psalms chapter 82. Chapter 82 and verse 1. And this also ties into Hosea as well. All right. God standeth in the congregation of the mighty. He judgeth among the gods. How long will you judge unjustly and accept persons of the wicked? Selah. Defend the poor and fatherless. Do justice to the afflicted and needy. Deliver the poor and needy. Rid them out of the hand of the wicked. And this is in the song. This is what he's asking for the Most High to defend the poor and the fatherless, to do justice to the afflicted and needy, because all these things tie into what happens when you're not living according to the law. Then you have, like we have, a lot of fatherless homes. The people are afflicted, the women and the children, and they become needy and poor and needy. Okay, so he's asking here, deliver the poor and needy, rid them out of the hand of the wicked, because we clearly know that when the father's not in the home, in this society, the way it's set up, we're given into the hand, they're given into the hand of the system, because you got to have help the way things are set up. So then they're in the hand of the system. And this is what he's at. He's petitioning, deliver the poor and needy, rid them out of the hand of the wicked. And then verse 5, they know not, neither will they understand. Because once again, like we talked about in Isaiah 1, we do not consider. Israel does not consider. Um, let's keep reading. They know not. This is verse 5. Psalms 82 and 5. They know not, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness. All of the foundations of the earth are out of course. Okay, so let's consider what we just read. Okay, so when you go to verse 1, it says the Most High Or it says here, God standeth in the congregation of the mighty. He judgeth among the gods. You understand that when you go down to verse 6, it says, I have said ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High, because that's what Israel is. That's what it means. It means prince of the power. So what he's telling you is that he stands in the congregation of the mighty. He judgeth among the gods. This is why when you go into verse 3 through 5, this is what the psalmist here, this is what he's petitioning to the Most High, but because the judges, the gods, what that means here, the sons of the Most High, Israel is not doing that. They're not judging righteous judgment. They're accepting persons of the wicked, which it tells you in the law not to do that, not to accept persons, not to judge based on who someone is or what their position is, or what agreements or arrangements you have with them, which goes also into the law about being accepting a gift. And like it also says in Ecclesiastes, beware of a gift. Don't accept gifts. Don't accept persons. You are to judge righteous judgment. So what the psalmist now is pleading here with the Most High is, please stand up and do that, because the judges, the people that are supposed to be doing that, they're not doing that. And so this also ties into everything else that we're talking about. And so because they're not doing that, all of the foundations of the earth are out of course. Everything is out of order for our people, because judges are not rendering righteous they're not judging according to the law. So now the Most High, as we've been speaking of all this time, the Most High he is going to judge. And this is what the psalmist here is petitioning. Please step in and judge, because this is not happening. The judges are not doing this. Everything is out of order. So everything, our homes, our society is out of order. Let's go to, I want to go to Isaiah. Okay, and we touched on this in part 1. But this is Isaiah chapter 1 and verse 5. Why should ye be stricken any more? Ye will revolt. We'll start at 3. Isaiah 1 and 3. The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib. But Israel doth not know. My people doth not consider. A sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, a seed of evildoers, children that are corrupters. They have forsaken the Lord. They have provoked the Holy One of Israel unto anger. They are gone away backward. And this is the key point, 1 and 5. Why should you be stricken any more? Ye will revolt more and more. The whole head is sick, and the whole heart faint. And like we went over in part 1, the heads of anything are the leaders, and the head of any nation is the men. It's the men. And let's go to Jeremiah 14 and 2. Okay, Jeremiah 14 and 2. Judah mourneth, and Judah is the southern kingdom of Israel, and that would be, once again, knowing who you are is a very important. That's the southern kingdom, meaning mostly your what you would call African American or your black people. That is the kingdom of Judah here in the Americas and in the Caribbeans. That is mostly the kingdom of Judah, making up the 3 tribes. Usually it's Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, but Judah is the head tribe, so that kingdom was called Judah. And that's usually, like I said, your so-called black people, your so-called African Americans. That's usually who that is. That's who that is. So Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish. They are black unto the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem is gone up. And why I want to go to verse 3, because this is very important about the gates. The gates thereof is in reference to the head. When you go to any kind of city or any kind of, there are gates there. before you get into the people. And it's the same thing when you consider a nation. The gates are the keepers, the heads, the leaders. And this is who it's talking about. The leaders have languished. The gates thereof languish. They are black unto the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem is gone up. Verse 3, and their nobles, so this is reiterated, and their nobles have sent their little ones to the waters. They came to the pits and found no water. They returned with vessels empty. They were ashamed and confounded and covered their heads. But this spiritually, when you consider what this is talking about, there's no water, there is no living water. There is no truth. There's no, which goes back into Hosea. There's no knowledge of the Most High, the vessels of God, the houses of God. We can go to Psalms to get that. We can go all through the scriptures. 1 Corinthians 3:16. Your body is your temple. Your vessel for the Most High is empty because you are not receiving that living water. The gates have languished. So you're not getting what you need to get as far as the knowledge of God. This is what Hosea 4:1 is talking about. And when our people do get it and it's brought to them, they reject it. And they rejected it then, which is why our nation is in the judgment that they're in. We're being judged. Once again, ties into Isaiah. We don't consider, we don't know. Ties back into Psalms 82. We walk on in darkness. So therefore, all the foundations of the earth completely are out of course. Everything is out of order because the heads of everything, they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're not filling the vessels, their people, with the water. They're not teaching them the knowledge of God. Let's go to Hosea 4:1 so you understand exactly again what I'm saying, what the scripture is saying here. Hosea 4:1. Hear the word of the children of the Lord, ye children of Israel. For the Lord hath a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there is no truth, nor mercy, nor knowledge of God in the land. Verse 2. By swearing and lying, killing and stealing and committing adultery, they break out, and blood toucheth blood. Therefore shall the land mourn, and every one that dwelleth therein shall languish, with the beasts of the field and with the fowls of heaven. Yea, the fishes of the sea also shall be taken away. So what this is saying, what we just read in Jeremiah, that the gates have languished. This is what this is telling you. There's a languish of people, even the animals, even because of the situation, even down to the animals. Everything is defiled and out of order, and even to the point where it's affecting everything else. And so this is something that's really important to understand when it comes to our people. And I went here, and I also want to get you another precept of understanding about the gates. All right. Let's go to Deuteronomy just to give you an example of and an idea as to what I'm talking about, or what, not me, but the scripture, what the scripture is saying, what I'm trying to get out to you about the scripture, and what some of the errors of our people is, the understanding who and what the gates is speaking of in this reference. Okay, and this also ties into what we went into in Deuteronomy 22 and 15, when it talked about but this is like kind of a precept to that. This is Deuteronomy 17 and 5. We'll start at 4. And if it be told thee, and thou hast heard of it, and inquired diligently, and behold, it be true, and the thing certain, that such abomination is wrought in Israel, then shalt thou bring forth that man or that woman which have committed the that wicked thing, unto thy gates, even that man or that woman, and shall stone them with stones till they die. And we're going to go, remember what we went to in Deuteronomy 22. Once again, the heads of the city are at the gates. They're the elders of the city. And these are who you bring them to and plead your cause to. And then they would do the judgment. So because there's no gates, no heads with knowledge of the Most High and bringing forth his judgments and corrections for his people, everything is out of course, is the point that I want to make. And I also want to get another scripture just reiterating about what the gates are, what these gates that have languished are. Let's see, Lamentations, um, 1 and 4. The ways of Zion do mourn, because none come to the solemn feasts. All her gates are desolate. Her priests sigh, her virgins are afflicted, and she is in bitterness. So that's the thing right there. Going back to what has happened is because there's been a falling away and a languishing of the gates of the heads of the men, because they have rejected the knowledge of the Most High. And I want to get one more thing.